Imagine you open your front door one morning and there's a man standing there. He's not wearing anything you'd recognize. His skin is weathered. His eyes are sharp, scanning everything around him with an alertness that makes you feel slightly watched. You invite him inside. He steps in slowly, takes in the ceiling, the walls, the artificial light humming above him. He doesn't panic. He doesn't run. He just watches, carefully, intelligently, because that's exactly what he is, intelligent. This man was born roughly 10,000 years ago. He has never seen a smartphone, a car, or a light switch. He has never heard recorded music or tasted processed food. He grew up reading the wind, tracking animals across frozen ground, and navigating by stars. And here's the thing almost nobody thinks about. His brain is identical to yours. Not similar, not close, identical. The same processing power, the same capacity for language, for abstract thought, for humor, for grief. The same biological hardware running underneath everything. We tend to imagine ancient humans as somehow lesser, rougher versions of us, works in progress. But that's not what the science says. What would a mind like that make of the world you've built? That's what we're going to find out. Let's start with the moment you flip a light switch. You've done it 10,000 times. It means nothing to you. A reflex. A habit so automatic that your brain barely registers it as an action. Now watch his face. A room floods with light and there is no fire, no flame, no source he can locate with his eyes. The light simply exists, hanging in the air above him, steady and unwavering, completely indifferent to the wind or rain or whether anyone fed it. He has spent his entire life managing fire. He knows how much work light costs, the wood you have to find, the flame you have to protect, the way it gutters in a breeze and dies if you stop paying attention. Light in his world is something you fight for every single night, and you just made it appear with your finger. Then you open the refrigerator. Cold air spits out. In summer, indoors, you hand him something that has been kept colder than a winter morning for weeks without ice, without a cave, without any explanation he can see. You turn a handle and clean water falls from the wall on command. He hasn't encountered technology. He's encountered something his entire cognitive framework only has one word for: magic. Now take him to a supermarket. Just walk him through the front doors and stop. He is looking at more food than his entire tribe would see in a year, possibly in several years. Thousands of items stacked floor to ceiling, organized in rows that stretch further than a reasonable person would think necessary. Meat that required no hunt. Fruit that required no season, bread that required no grinding, no fire, no hours of labor to produce. In his world, food is the central problem of being alive. Every day orbits around it. Where is the prey moving? Which routes are safe? Is this berry the one that kills you or the one that doesn't? Entire migrations were planned around the question of where the calories would come from next month. Starvation wasn't a concept to him, it was a neighbor. And here you are, standing in a building where the answer to every food question is simply aisle 7. He would not browse casually. He would not complain about prices or reach for his phone while deciding between 2 yogurts. He would stand very still and feel something modern humans have almost completely forgotten how to feel. The overwhelming, almost destabilizing relief of knowing that today, without question, everyone is going to eat. We inherited that relief. We just stopped noticing it. Hand him your phone, not to use it, just to hold it. Watch him turn it over in his hands, tapping the glass, feeling the edges, trying to understand what kind of object this is. Stone? Bone? Something he has no category for. Then make a video call. A face appears on the surface. A real human face, moving, blinking, speaking words in real time from somewhere on the other side of the world. Someone who is simultaneously here and not here, present but unreachable, visible but untouchable. In his world, when someone left camp, they were gone. You might see them again, you might not. Distance was final in a way we have completely abolished. If someone you loved walked over the horizon, the only version of them you had left was the one inside your memory. He had no photographs, no recordings. When someone died, their face began fading almost immediately. Now show him a video of someone who has been dead for decades, still moving, still speaking, perfectly preserved in light and sound. To him, this isn't technology. This is something far closer to what his culture would call summoning. We built devices that collapse distance, defeat death, and carry human voices across oceans in an instant. We call it having bad signal when it drops to 3 bars. But here's where the script flips. Because he's been watching you too, and not everything he sees is impressive. He notices that you sit for most of the day, in a chair, in a car, on a couch. in another chair. He comes from a world where the average person walked 8 to 12 miles daily without thinking of it as exercise. Walking was simply what living looked like. His legs are functional in a way yours probably aren't. His grip strength, his endurance, his ability to regulate his body temperature across genuinely hostile conditions would embarrass most modern athletes. He can start a fire without a single tool, navigate home from miles away using nothing but the sun and the landscape, identify which plants will feed him and which will kill him, build shelter from whatever the ground offers, read weather in cloud formations before it arrives. You cannot do any of this. You depend on an infrastructure so vast and so invisible that you never have to think about it. Clean water arrives because of systems you don't understand, maintained by people you'll never meet, powered by electricity you couldn't generate yourself. Take all of it away and most modern humans would be in serious trouble within days. He would look at your soft hands, your chair-shaped posture, your complete inability to feed yourself without a building full of strangers doing it for you, and he might feel something uncomfortably close to pity. But the physical weakness might not be what unsettles him most. It might be the loneliness. He grew up in a group of roughly 50 to 150 people. Everyone had a name. Everyone had a role. Everyone knew who you were, who your parents were, what you're good at, what you had survived. You were never anonymous. You were never invisible. You were a known person inside a web of relationships that held you in place like gravity. He would walk through a modern city and see thousands of humans moving in perfect isolation. Eyes forward, earphones in, bodies close enough to touch but utterly sealed off from one another. Millions of people living in the densest concentrations of human beings ever assembled in history, and somehow achieving a level of social disconnection his tribe would have found not just unusual but genuinely dangerous. In his world, isolation wasn't a lifestyle, it was a death sentence. Then you show him social media. Hundreds of friends you explain, thousands of followers. People respond to what you say within seconds from across the planet. He watches someone scroll for a few minutes, tapping, swiping, consuming faces and words and moving images in an endless stream, alone on a couch in a silent apartment. He might not see connection. He might see someone sitting just outside the firelight, unable to find their way back in. And yet, for all of that, for the loneliness and the soft hands and the chair-shaped lives, there is something we have that would stop him completely. Not the lights, not the food, not the phone, the knowledge. Show him a diagram of the solar system. Explain to him that the sun he has navigated by his entire life is a star, that it is one of the approximately 200 billion stars inside a single galaxy, that the galaxy itself is one of 2 trillion others, spread across a universe so vast that the light from its edges has been traveling towards us since before the Earth existed. He looked at those same stars every night of his life. He knew them intimately, used them for navigation, built stories around them, made them into gods because they deserved that much reverence. He had no way of knowing what they actually were, and what they actually are is so much more astonishing than any god he imagined. Tell him that every living thing on Earth, every insect, every tree, every human being who has ever lived shares a common ancestor, that the instructions for building a human body are written in a molecule so small it fits inside every single one of your cells, that we read it, that we figured it out. He worshipped the mystery. We opened it. And I think that, more than anything else, is what would bring him to his knees. So what would he actually conclude? After the lights in the supermarket and the phone in the cities full of strangers moving in silence, after seeing us split the atom and sequence the genome and hurl machines beyond the edge of the solar system, what would his final verdict be? I think it would be this: you have the power of gods, and you are still completely, unmistakably human. Because he would also see other things. He would see 2 people fall in love across a crowded room. He would hear a mother sing to a child who can't sleep. He would watch a group of friends sit around at a table late at night, laughing at something that doesn't translate but doesn't need to. He would see someone stare at the horizon with that particular expression that means they're worried about something they can't control. He would recognize all of it instantly. The technology would baffle him. The humanity wouldn't, because we still do exactly what his people did around a fire 50,000 years ago. We tell stories. We look for meaning. We love people and lose them and try to make sense of both. We look up at the sky and feel small and curious and alive. The biggest surprise for an ancient human wouldn't be how different we are. It would be the moment he realizes that after everything, after all of it, we are still the same people, just with better tools, and somehow, impossibly, still figuring out how to use them.